Public Nahar, the provisional government of the Irish Republic to the people of Ireland. Irish men and Irish women, in the name of God and of the dead generations from which he receives our old tradition of nationhood, Ireland, through us, summons our children to our flag and strikes for our freedom. Having organised and trained our manhood through our secret revolutionary organisation, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and through our open military organisations, the Irish Volunteers and the Irish Citizens Army. Having patiently perfected our discipline, having resolutely waited for the right moment to reveal itself, she now seizes that moment. And, supported by our exiled children in America and by gallant allies in Europe, but relying in the force on our own strength, she strikes in full confidence of victory. We declare the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland and to the unfettered control of Irish destinies to be sovereign and indefeasible. The long usurpation of that right by a foreign people and government has not extinguished the right, nor can it ever be extinguished except by the destruction of the Irish people. In every generation, the Irish people have asserted their right to national freedom and sovereignty. 6 times during the past 300 years they have asserted it in arms. Standing on that fundamental right and again asserting it in arms in the face of the world, we hereby proclaim the Irish Republic as a sovereign independent state, and we pledge our lives and the lives of our comrades in arms to the cause of its freedom, of its welfare and of its exaltation among the nations. The Irish Republic is entitled to and hereby claims the allegiance of every Irish man and Irish woman. The Republic guarantees religious and civil liberty, equal rights and equal opportunities to all its citizens, and declares its resolve to pursue the happiness and prosperity of the whole nation and all its parts, cherishing all of the children of the nation equally, and oblivious of the differences carefully fostered by an alien government, which have divided the minority from the majority in the past. Until our arms have brought the opportune moment for the establishment of a permanent national government, representative of the whole people of Ireland, and elected by the suffrages of all our men and women, the provisional government hereby constituted will administer the civil and military affairs of the Republic in trust for the people. We place the cause of the Irish Republic under the protection of the Most High God, whose blessings we invoke upon our arms, and we pray that no one who serves that cause will dishonour it by cowardice, inhumanity or rapine. In this supreme hour, the Irish nation must, by its valour and discipline, and by the readiness of its children to sacrifice themselves for the common good, prove itself worthy of the august destiny to which it is called. Signed on behalf of the Provisional Government, Thomas Muscate Clark, Sean McDermott, Tomas McDonough, P.H. Pearce, Eamon McCann, James Connolly, Joseph Duncan.
The international chairman of the Celtic League, Conall Lewin, will now give the oration.
Well, Fáilte Ród Gallera within Comora in the Celtic Shaw and come to Celtic Comora and Lepra Nida Gashadia. Welcome to this Celtic Commemoration of 1916, organised by the Celtic League. It's good to see representatives from all the Celtic nations here and other supporters. The monument behind us, which unfortunately now has this advertisement for the Citizens' Commemoration in front of it, is a very appropriate place. It marks the rebellions in the century so before 1916. First we have the United Irish Rebellions of 1798 and 1803. The United Irish Rising of 1798 took place in Glasnevin, Wexford, Antrim and Down, while Emmet Rising in 1803 was confined to Dublin. Wolfe Tone, Protestant and the father of Irish republicanism, was leader and founder of the United Irishmen, who were a radical organisation whose slogan was put the common name of Irishman in place of those of Catholic, Protestant and Dissenter. Their ideals inspired subsequent movements like the Young Irelanders, who rose in 1848, who gave us the green, white and orange tricolour, which became our national flag, and his poet Thomas Davis gave us many of the most enduring patriotic songs, like A Nation Once Again and The Minstrel Boy, the latter tune which you heard on your march in. The Fenians followed in 1867. And although the rising failed, they left on us the most enduring of all organisations, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, founded simultaneously in Dublin and New York on Patrick's Day, 1858. Many of the 1916 leaders were leaders of the IRB or recruited in the run-up to the Rising. As the proclamation stated, quote, the dead generations from which she receives her old tradition of nationhood. In Ireland, the cultural revival from the 1890s onwards led to the foundation of Conor McGrath's Gaelic League, and many of the leaders and activists at the time were staunch members, which was a precursor to the armed political struggle. The story of the political developments that led to the Rising is available in many places and from many sources, including the excellent series produced by T.G. Carter on the 7 signatories of the 1916 proclamation, entitled Chapter McCosker, the Easter 7. The series was produced also called Chapter Dartmouth, the Forgotten 7, which illuminates the lives of the other leaders who were executed. You should be able to get these from abroad on T.G. Carter Player. You will also find on RT the series 1916, which the first 2 episodes at least of which were reasonable. The third went on to modern times and it was not that good. But other information programs on the Rising, on the activities of ordinary volunteers during the Rising. For example, Brendan O'Carroll, my family of war. Now, the promise of Home Rule to the Irish Parliamentary Party was followed by the Ulster Covenant in opposition to it in 1912, the founding of the Ulster Volunteers and importation of arms by them, and the current mutiny by the British Army who refused to move against the Ulster Volunteers. The founding of the Irish Volunteers came in 1913 and the famous Hope gun running followed a year later for the Irish Volunteers. The organisation split at the outbreak of the First World War after Home Rule leader John Redmond shamefully urged volunteers to go and fight for the British Empire. The leaders of 1916 saw the outbreak of the First World War and the shelving of the Home Rule Bill as a last chance to strike a blow against the total Anglicisation of Ireland and for an Irish Republic. It should not be forgotten that the Home Rule Bill, accepted by the supine Irish Parliamentary Party, gave little more powers to Ireland than those of the glorified County Council. The sacrifice and execution of the rebel leaders at Easter turned the tide of public opinion and led to the Sinn Féin election victory of 1918 and consequent War of Independence. Their ideals are clear from the proclamation you have just heard. What would they who promised to cherish the children of the nation equally think of the Ireland of today, where homelessness and evictions are on the increase, where a whole political class that the greed and fraud of bankers are on riot with virtually no control, and then succumbing to pressure from the European Central Bank, made the ordinary people bear the burden of austerity programmes while senior bondholders walked away untouched. They would hardly be satisfied with a partitioned Ireland, nor the treatment of the nationalist majority in the north which gave rights to the civil rights movement. James Connolly wrote strongly on the foreseen ill effects of partition, the creation of 2 confessional states, where a carnival of reaction would develop both north and south. Pearse, Kant and other language enthusiasts would be appalled by the precarious state of the Irish language and remaining Irish-speaking areas today. There were 170,000 odd native speakers when the Irish Free State was founded in 1922. There are now less than 30,000 in much reduced areas. Much needed funding for language planning schemes has been severely cut back. While the teaching of Irish in schools was introduced in the Irish Free State, this is the only remaining measure from the 20s to survive the anglicising retrenchments of the 60s and 70s, which have left us with a monolingual state civil service and local authority service ruled over by anti-Irish mandarins. The successful Radio Migrated was not founded as a government initiative in 1972, but by pressure from the greater civil rights movement, who set up a pirate radio station, Say Radio Connemara, and shamed them into it. Nor was it now thriving T.G. Cacker established as a government initiative. Indeed, like S4C in Cumbria, whose campaigners were dealing with an alien government, T.G. Cacker was rent from the Irish government due to the efforts of those who climbed TV masts, changed themselves across the entrances to the GPO and RTE, and organised non-payment of licences, resulting in jailing in some cases. The state sometimes like to point to the growth of Irish media education as a feather in their cap. This is total hypocrisy. The reality is that it was achieved by those who wanted Irish media education for the children, in spite of opposition and hindrances from the Department of Education. Some years ago, the Minister of Education even issued an edict banning full Irish language immersion in the entry years in primary school, now thankfully rescinded after considerable battle. But today, new Irish medium schools are restricted to growth areas of population growth. The men of 1960 and women of 1916 would be ashamed of this behaviour towards the language they learned, promoted and fought for. Our organisation, the Celtic League, has aims in this constitution which reflect well those of the 1916 proclamation. To support the struggle of the Celtic nations to secure political, cultural, social and economic freedom which they need for their survival and independence as independent nations. To work towards the restoration of the Celtic languages and our social commitment to exploit our natural resources and wealth for the benefit of all. And we have our long-term aim to achieve a formal association between the Celtic nations for the mutual benefit. The rising of 1916 had varying effects on the other Celtic nations. 25 years ago, on the 75th anniversary of 1916, we published a supplement in our magazine Cairn, that's C-A-R-N, issue number 76, entitled 1916, The Ripples in the Celtic Tide, which is still valid. Time does not permit more than a reference, but this can be viewed on our website in the Cairn section, and our web address is www.celticleague.net. Looking to the future, we know that last year Scotland almost won its independence. Down the road another referendum will certainly take place, and this one will be won. In Wales, increasing powers will be gained by the Welsh Assembly and independence song. The Isle of Man has much autonomy and independence is back on the agenda. In Brittany, a radical movement, the Red Bonnets, has emerged which made significant gains in the country. The Cornish, after being told they were definitely not a nation, have finally achieved recognition as a national minority under the European Framework Convention for the Protection of National Minorities. We look forward to further positive development in all Celtic countries in years to come. To reflect again on 1916, it must be said that despite the sham government commemorations, there has been a sustained attack on the aims of the leaders of 1916 and on ideals. And attempts were made to reinstate the shredded reputation of John Redmond of the Irish Parliamentary Party. The government would not agree to preserve the full battlefield site in Moore Street, as many of you know, where the leaders from the GPO laid their final stand and it burned. They have now been forced to do so by a High Court order, a great victory for all who campaigned for the full preservation. But even now, the government are not saying that they will not appeal. They should accept that decision and have some decency. Another terrible example of history is the proposal to erect a wall in the old cemetery across the road, with names on it, not only of those who fought for Ireland and the civilians who were killed, but the very British forces who sought to suppress them, who shelled and burnt the city, carried out the North King Street massacre and executed the leader. This has been totally condemned by the relatives of those who fought in 1916. As we stand here today, in memory of those who fought in 1916, we must pledge ourselves to work to ensure that the ideals of the men and women of 1916 are made a reality, despite the historical revisionist attacks on their positions and actions. Let the world know the truth. So Corvin Mahal, Corvera, Pronunciation.
An nóid fiúla sé faoine agus seaí an tíbhar in sin seaní sé mar na limní. Mar na limní á henam go glóid sin ag ar bíbre Joe Donna. Thank you, Joe, for such wonderful rendering. Ní iarm ar cuimhín ó Caile, ach soas agus airrí again ar gán na Pádraig Mac Piarais, the rebel. Cuimhín ó Caile will now recite The Rebel by Patrick Pearse.
The Rebel by Padraig Mac Piarais. I am come of the seed of the people that sorrow, that have no treasure but hope, nor riches laid up, but a memory of an ancient glory. My mother bore me in bondage, and in bondage my mother was born. I am of the blood of serfs, the children with whom I have played, the men and women with whom I have eaten, have had masters over them, have had under the lash of masters, and though gentle, have served thralls. The hands that have touched mine, the dear hands whose touch is familiar to me, have won shameful manacles, have been bitten at the wrist by manacles, have grown hard with the manacles, and the taskwork of strangers.
We will leave here now more determined than ever to wrest our 6 countries from the claws of imperialism. It may be a complicated struggle sometimes, it may sometimes be a long struggle and a sad struggle, and it will take very many forms. But let us go from here more determined than ever that the day will come when we will manage to free ourselves completely in mind and body and in everything that every resource of our people. So slán a bhile agus iarm inis ar a bíbre, bhíocha chuir na cuasaí na hárán a bhíon.